I'm John Lee with St. Louis Real Estate Investors Association. Today is February 19th, 2021, and we have Miss Kathie Davis here. She's going to fill us in on all our weekly updates that we can't wait to hear. She's smiling again. Love to see it.
Oh, oh my goodness. I hope everybody's good. I want to tell you my crazy morning was Christopher is in St. Charles. Christine was dealing with county stuff. Um, my daughter and Chris, as you know, just had a new baby, and the school called and their little boy was sick, and she had to have someone come over to her house and watch the baby while she went to pick up the little boy. And Chris and I were both busy, so we had to send Heather, our paralegal, whose job just expanded. um, and then I was on this long docket in the city. And I told John earlier, I said I was starting to get worried that I was going to have to email and say, I'm going to be late. I don't know when I'm getting off. But then the judge took my cases just a few minutes ago and we got them taken care of. So we're good. So I think I'm going to start with the big news about the state ERAP money, the new $300 million, whatever they're getting. Um, we thought this was true, but I didn't want to say it last week until I verified it. But we have verified that that money is not available for St. Louis City and county cases. So unless you have property in a different county, it might not even be worth it to go through that program. We weren't fond of that program anyway because of the restrictions, but the new money is not going to come to the city and the county. You're going to have to go through the city and the county. The judge in the city this morning, who I was appearing in front of, a judge I really like, Judge Reuther, asked me in WebEx court in front of everybody if I knew when the city money was coming, and I didn't. I don't know. The county has said that they're going to start taking applications next month, which I assume was, that means within a week or so. But the city hasn't said yet, and I haven't seen any information about the process for applying. We are telling tenants that we talk to through Zoom court or who call us to call 211 or call the county or the city, depending, and just to be very persistent, even if they say they're not taking applications yet or whatever, to just keep calling until they do. There's a lot more money this time, so we think that more people will be able to get it, but it's not going to last forever. The county, other than that, kind of continues at phase one. They are now trying to blame the Missouri Supreme Court judges, saying that those judges have put out an order saying that they can't go to phase two until they have 2 weeks in a row without anybody testing positive for COVID. And with 650 people and 2 jails on the premises, that's unlikely. And I've been saying that all along. I think it's interesting they're trying to shift this over to the Supreme Court now. I think they have conversations with the Supreme Court judges all the time, and they could ask them to modify that. And I think they probably would. I think that when we do get to phase two, which they were talking about by the end of February, and now they're talking about by the end of March, Judge Burton's order had said that evictions were stayed until they got to phase two. Well, now I think he's backing off that a little bit, and he's talking about maybe allowing some limited evictions when he gets to phase two. So what we are doing there is looking at cases that we can legitimately file unlawful detainers on, and possibly 441s, because if he's going to cherry pick, those are probably going to be the ones he'll allow, that and commercial. But I think that you need to be prepared for a longer stay in the county than anything in the next couple of weeks. He has told us that the fragile little blossoms that serve as our eviction deputies have been getting their vaccinations, and once they're fully vaccinated, he doesn't have the excuse of, oh, the deputy might get sick for not having the evictions. Um, so we're glad to hear all of that. That's all I know in the county. The kiosks are open again. Maybe I do know one more thing. The kiosks that we had for a while last year, and then they went down to phase zero, and those were closed. Those are open. There's one at the courthouse in Clayton, and there's another place at the Northwest Plaza where the government center is, as part of the old Northwest Plaza, people can appear for court at these kiosks. They have video enabled computers and deputies who can help you. Deputies who, surprisingly enough, must have natural COVID immunity because they're not concerned about having them get exposed to anybody wandering in off the street who wants to go to remote court at a kiosk. Um, and that is supposed to be different in some way than being exposed by going to somebody's place and telling them they have to move. So we had asked the last time they had kiosks that they equip them with printers or fax machines because there was no way to get documents back and forth to the people who were there. And supposedly they're doing that, but I don't have confirmation on that yet. We are at a big war about as I don't know. I can't even tell you how upset that the way that this is being treated and handled is to me by the courts. They want everybody to go to WebEx. WebEx is a problem. I was on a WebEx docket in the city this morning, and it's much more difficult for people to use. And you can't go into a breakout room on WebEx unless your device has a camera that's enabled. And a lot of people have phones that don't have enabled cameras. So the state has been very dismissive and I would say rude when we've raised these issues about how are these people going to be able to appear in court and do breakout rooms and do all these things on WebEx. And supposedly, they're trying to negotiate this with WebEx. And the idea has been passed along to them, not by me, but by someone else. The idea has been passed along that why don't you let Kathie Davis negotiate with WebEx, which I would be happy to do. I kind of feel like those things are, once one computer can do it, another computer should be able to do it too, right? So why can't they just program that? Anyway, so that's going to be a problem. This county is going to switch over completely to WebEx April 1st. And we're going to be, I think, it's going to become a little harder for us to work these remote dockets, which I will tell you, we are all getting tired of them. They're very difficult. The judge who was running the WebEx docket in the city today, Friday, as some of you may know, is the day when the pro se landlord and tenant docket happens. So in most cases, neither side has lawyers. In a lot of cases, they filed the wrong kind of lawsuit. They don't have the right equipment. They're constantly piping in to say they can't turn their camera on or they can't get the link. And, it's complete chaos. The judge was just amazingly patient and got through it. But I thought I was going to light my hair on fire by 10:30 and the docket started at 9:30. I mean, it was just so bad, just so bad. And then you hear people, landlords who are trying to do their own cases and they're admitting things about their case that are not in their interest. I mean, oh my God. If I was there in person, I'd be taking them out into the hall and saying, look, I don't want to even charge you. Just let me try this case for you because you're in trouble. But it makes me realize that I actually do have a skill. But anyway, the city, we think they are really getting close to broadening the kind of evictions they're allowing. And in our other counties, they're kind of business as usual. Chris just came back from being in St. Charles personally, and that's been going on for a while. We're not aware of any other, in our near area of any other stays or anything. It's mostly St. Louis County that's the big problem, and to a lesser extent, the city. Oh, and one more thing about the city. I'm not sure what's going to happen because of this. The judge told me he might not have access to enter judgments for a couple of days. Apparently, in the civil courts building, the tall one, a pipe burst and the courthouse flooded. Just in case you thought we weren't in Texas, maybe we are. So, yeah, that's likely to, the last time I was downtown, they had a flood in the Carnahan courthouse over a year ago. And last time I was downtown, they still had parking spaces fenced off and equipment trucks there working on restoring that. So that stuff never gets resolved quickly. They're probably glad that we're not all down there hounding them and running in and out of the courthouse and, flushing the toilets and using the drinking fountains, which I would not recommend even in regular times. But yeah, so that they can hopefully fix it more quickly. But that could have an impact too on what we're able to do. I don't know. So I think that's all I have this week. Does anyone have any questions? Jackson County has rolling blackouts that have affected the courthouse. Yeah, I'm not surprised. I got a default judgment. The county in St. Louis County, um, what we've been told is that the ERAP money, the state ERAP money, that St. Louis City and county cases are not eligible for it. You're going to have to go through the county. And we don't know the county new criteria yet for the new money, so we don't know if they're going to say no if you have a judgment or a pending case. I don't think they will, but they could. I think that would be a disaster, because then I think if you're already at a judgment, you're not going to, we would totally advise against satisfying the judgment to apply for this money. And then that means when they start evictions up again, those people are going to get kicked out. I don't know why they want to put up rules that just make it harder to help people who need help. And personally, if I were in charge of the program, I would start with the people who have judgments against them, because those are the ones that are the most in danger of being evicted, and probably the ones where the landlord is at the end of the rope. And I would give those people priority. But sadly, I'm not in charge. There would be other changes too if I were. You don't want to know what they are.
Want to run for president, Kathie?
Yeah. No, thanks. I'd like to ride on that plane, but that's about it.
Kathie, I was
Yeah.
wondering if the police and fire are getting their vaccinations, not if they've already had their vaccination, are they intentionally not giving them to the sheriff so they can stonewall these evictions?
Well, I just said that the county sheriffs are getting their vaccinations now. They've supposedly all had one round, and they're moving towards the proper time for their second round.
Okay.
So I don't think that was deliberate. I think there was a whole discussion going on about courthouse personnel and what their priority was to be. And I think that they have gotten, I know judges have gotten vaccinated, and I think that they were successful in getting the sheriffs to be vaccinated, which I think is appropriate. I mean, over and above the evictions, they're going out and serving papers and all that kind of thing. They should have that protection. Okay, what's this new question? I gotta take my glasses off. What will this all look at when all these people get evicted and landlords are looking for new tenants and all of the applicants have evictions? Yeah, that's a good question. The tenant advocates, I've said this before on here, the tenant advocates are trying to get it to be so that those judgments don't show up on CaseNet. I will say the same thing that I said, in the fallout from 2008. There's going to be a lot more people who have stuff on their record than normal. I would look for multiple evictions, and I would call landlords and find out, what kind of person this tenant was. I feel like with the way things are going, with the money that's available, the tenants who cooperate and apply for the money and try to help get the landlord get the money, their evictions are going to go away, or they're going to be satisfied, or maybe in some cases they never even get filed because that tenant was proactive. And that would be a tenant that you want. One of the things that I would look for when you're looking on CaseNet at eviction judgments against people is whether a satisfaction of judgment was filed. That means that tenant paid. And I think these are times when anyone could have their job shut down or get in a hole or what have you, because of the COVID, but they got back on their feet, they got another job, they made a payment plan, they got it paid, and it shows as satisfied. That's someone who might deserve a chance. We would like to encourage you to rent to people who have satisfied judgments rather than unsatisfied judgments, because that also encourages those tenants to come back after the fact and get that judgment paid. Make a deal with you and get that paid off so that they can get that satisfaction of judgment. And that will help everyone too. When people get back on their feet or get back employed, if they can, even if they left their place or got evicted, if they can make payment plans on those old judgment, that shows some responsibility and shows a better, character of tenant, I think. But the screening is going to be very interesting. We have heard that there's a very low vacancy rate right now. Maybe some of the occupants are non-paying occupants, but the actual units available, that it's a very low percentage of actual units that's available. Probably, I'm sure, because people can't be evicted. Which, by the way, did anybody chat with Jacob at the Business Journal last week about vacancies or difficulties being a landlord, possibly leaving the business? Anybody get a chance to call him?
I lost his number. If you want to give it out again, I'll call him right after this one.
Do I have it? Hang on, let me look. I keep wanting to say Jacob Long, and Jacob Long is not right. Jacob Long is Lida's spokesperson. So it's a different Jacob.
Yeah, I found it here in my notes from last week, Kathy.
Oh, okay.
It's 314-210-5330.
Yes, and I see someone has put it in the chat as well.
Oh, yeah, okay, somebody put it in there. Oh, John
Yeah,
put it in.
great. Yeah, thank you.
And it's Jacob Kern, Kirn, I believe.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Okay, someone is asking me about Section 8. Is it a protected class? And can you set your policy to accept only Section 8? Here's the problem with, doing that. I think that you're not allowed to discriminate on the basis of income, and that possibly could be some kind of discrimination. But, and obviously the only things that I ever hear are problems, right? So I think Section 8 can be problematic, but I'm sure there are many Section 8 tenants who get subsidized, and that makes them stable with respect to paying their portion of the rent and being tenants and everything, and they do fine. They are not treated any differently with respect to the county eviction stay right now. However, depending on the Section 8 program, or if you have a federally, certain types of federal loans on your property, you may be stayed federally from evicting anyone.
Okay, can we say we don't take Section 8? Because I thought I heard we couldn't do that anymore.
The city has passed an ordinance against it. I don't think the county has, although it's possible. They get up to all kinds of shenanigans. Usually I have someone who passes me along weird county ordinances, and I haven't heard that, but it could happen. I would not say no Section 8. I would review them like you would any other tenant.
Okay,
Right now, if you have a Section 8 tenant with a big subsidy, that federal money is still coming.
yeah.
Yeah. Anyone else like to contribute or have a question?
On Section 8, I've had pretty good success with it. We had some down in St. Francis County. I think it's called Eastern Missouri something or other, but it's the same program. We bought a home, this is several years ago now, that had someone in there, a tenant, had been there for 16 years. She stayed another 4 years as a really good tenant. Then she had just like it could happen anywhere, she did have a friend or a close family member that got out of prison and then started selling drugs. And then it went downhill from there. But I've also had some in the city here in Ferguson and in some other areas of the city that have done pretty well. So I think it's about the same as anything, because Section 8 is fairly good because they have to go through an education program to even get on and then there's a voucher. And from what I understand, last time I looked at, there was a waiting list. So you get a little bit better people. I also was told, and this is from property manager I had at the time that really specializes in this, that you're better off getting people that have a voucher from the city rather than the county, and they can take their voucher and apply it to the county or anywhere else they want to go. So that's my experience. I mean, I wouldn't recommend it or not recommend it, but it is, it's a little bit different than what, some of the old horror stories I used to hear 15, 20 years ago. So
how long does it take to get a house registered to be able to take Section 8? Well, how long is that process?
You have to talk to them. You really have to talk to them. I do not know what their procedure is. I just know I bought some places like that. I had a city or a property manager that also specialized in it, and my experience was pretty good.
Okay.
Yeah, I can answer that for you. I actually just bought a house and inherited a tenant with Section 8. That was my first experience. Last year and a half working with St. Louis County Housing Authority, it has been great. They're very responsive. Hasn't taken long to get new people signed onto it. The trick is screen them like you would any other tenant, because there's good and bad. And so don't skimp on your screening. But I'm kind of falling in love with the program, to be honest. I've rented for 8 years and never took them. And now that I've kind of gotten my feet wet with it, I'm looking at it and saying, hey, this may be the future for me. So
Okay.
I'd like to do more of them.
There's a couple things like an extra inspection. They do have an annual inspection, and they usually almost always find something. And a lot of times it's little stuff.
No, I'm almost done.
Gotta fix it. I did have a tenant that moved in
Chiming
her
in.
sons, and then he got kicked out. My property manager did that because they tore the house up and they got in trouble with the city ordinances and a bunch of stuff. She actually kicked him out. The lady was in a wheelchair, which I felt bad, but they didn't follow the program, and they actually kick them out of the Section 8 program if they don't follow all the rules. So they have guidelines, and like Paul was saying, I think it's a pretty good thing the way they almost take care of the people and screen them for you, but you really need to screen them yourself and do them the same way, like he said. The thing you got to keep in mind is don't discriminate and do a different screening than you do regular commercial tenants. They all need to be exactly the same. If you deny them for one thing, you have to deny it straight across the board.
Got it.
That's just.
Well, I'll tell you, is I understand what I'm hearing, and the only thing I saw, and I did mostly through city vouchers, was they take almost a month longer to get somebody in there. But other than that, I had no problem. I did see, I've been through the change to where they were holding their people accountable, and their caseworkers became very proactive when you said, look, they're not paying this bill, and they would make them pay it. So I didn't have a real serious problem, and I didn't have them tear it up really bad. So, but you're going to do another month of time is what I found to get all the paperwork done.
I bought a
Those
bill.
are-
Yeah.
That's
Well,
really
somebody-
good. That's really good information from people who have experience with the program. I will tell you that it's been many years since I got into a real knockdown, drag out legal battle about Section 8. And I think that the providing housing to low income people is an extremely hard job. And to have Section 8, if you are okay with the bureaucracy and the paperwork, to have them as kind of a partner helping you with it, that could be a very good thing.
I bought a building that had Section 8 people in there. It was a county voucher in the city. And my experience was I had to go to the supervisor to get the caseworker to do their part and dealing with the problems that I had. It was a nightmare, but when I put the fire under their boss's foot, then the caseworkers did their job. So that's one of the problems you can have. The caseworkers, they're not, if they don't make waves, they don't have problems. And to get them to do their jobs, they're going to support the tenants sometimes. But like Kathie and everyone else is saying, you got to scrutinize the daylights out of them, and you got to be proactive that utilities get shut off. The casework was trying to say it was mistakes. You got to document everything. And then like someone else was saying, you do have the annual inspections, but you got to write your lease in such a way that they're liable for that. And the damages, if you have that taken out of their security deposit, then if you go after their caseworker for their security deposit not being met, then they will engage in it, but you can have problems. Otherwise, those annual inspections can be expensive. The other thing is with Section 8, you have to have permits pulled for everything because they do check that, and the inspection process is totally different. It's not a white glove, easy walkthrough. They have mechanical, electrical, and plumbing inspectors come in to look at your building. And if they see anything that wasn't done according to code or permits not pulled, they won't pass you, and they'll make you have a licensed persons come in. So at Section 8, you don't want to be doing anything yourself. If that helps the other gentleman.
And I believe right now they actually have just changed to every other year inspection, from what I understand.
Okay.
That helps a little bit, I guess.
I heard they did away with their extra inspections over what the municipalities had done. So, but I don't know. I don't have any Section 8 right now. So I won't speak for that, but I thought that was a pretty smart thing to not have to go through all those extra inspections.
And another thing they're doing because of COVID is they're doing walkthrough inspections between landlord and tenant. And they send if there's a request for an inspection, they don't send an inspector out. They just send a form and have the landlord and tenant walk through together and sign off that, these things need to be repaired or everything's good. I haven't gone through that personally myself. I will hopefully in the next month or so, but we'll see how it goes. I'll report back.
Good.
Here's my
good-
suggestion with the
It's good
Section 8
information
people.
from everyone.
Here's my suggestion with the Section 8 people, or just tenants in general. I take a picture of everyone who's on the lease in the room to show the conditions of the walls, the windows, the kitchen, all of that stuff. And if anything is damaged, that's destruction of property, and that can get them kicked out of the Section 8 program. That will also greatly assist you with those annual inspections, or now maybe they're semi-annual. But if they're destroying the property, that's a problem with the Section 8 program. With the caseworkers, their philosophy is we're guaranteeing your rent. So they have to do all these other things. They look at it as normal wear and tear, but for most people, those wouldn't be normal wear and tear things. But if you've got all those photographs of them in the room, it becomes destruction and not normal wear and tear. And that changes the scenario totally with their supervisors.
Well, this is great information, guys. I think that Section 8 may have turned the corner from being something that people wanted to avoid to something that might be becoming more valuable and more of a steady source of revenue. So I don't have anything else unless Chris has something for our real estate friends.
Well, I can tell you that I just witnessed a CDC order challenge get overturned today. So even at St. Charles, they're being pretty lenient on that stuff.
Chris just came back from St. Charles, and he saw that was not one of our cases. That was someone else's.
Yeah.
Yeah. He saw somebody get hung up on a CDC order. So he thinks even St. Charles, which has been tougher than other jurisdictions and more, favorable to the plaintiff, is just letting these CDC orders come in, even if maybe they're not founded in actual fact.
Which is all the reason to do consent judgments early in the process to keep
Yeah.
people from being desperate.
Yeah. Settling and consent judgment early in the process is key here, we think. Okay, guys, so I'm going to go find out what else happened in St. Charles and tell Chris what I did to his cases in the city. I want to do a shout out to John Lofton. Say hi to your mom for me. His mom is a retired judge and my good friend, and I'm hoping to see her for lunch soon.
Definitely, I'll let her know I saw you.
Yeah,